Did you know that you can have the most incredible birthing experience? Yes, I'm talking about a labor. Yes, I'm talking about pushing babies out. It can be the most fucking incredible experience of your whole entire life. The days that I gave birth to my children, I would have 10,000 babies just for the labor. Yes, I just said that. Is your attention here? Right, I'm going to share with you the codex from the guides. I am going to share the keys that helped me get to this stage when I look back in reflection. And I want to share this with women because we have been deprived of our power in the birthing space, and it's something that was really strong in my codex, and it really naturally happened for me, and it is the most beautiful gift that I could impart to you. So I hope you have a lot of fucking fun listening to this episode, and if you have any questions about it, you are absolutely welcome to message me, and maybe I will do some follow-up episodes. I am firstly going to share my highlights of my experience and what really impacted my experience to be that I would have 10,000 fucking children just for the labor. I also really loved pregnancy, and we can maybe go into that into a different stage, and maybe also I could tell you my actual birth stories for my 2 children, if that's something that you guys want me to go deeper into. But the thing I want to tell you is this. I had 9 and high 9-pound babies, and I had no tearing. My labors were 2 hours long with my second and 5 hours with my first. I had natural labours in the New Zealand realm. I'm not sure about what the definitive is for in other countries, but I had no normal pain relief, except I sucked on the gas a few times with some of my contractions, and that is all that I had. I didn't need any more. It was not that fucking painful. I am not kidding you. And both of my births were classed as home births because they were birthed in birthing units in New Zealand, but not a place where I could get surgery or get, I couldn't have epidurals at the birthing units that I was at, for instance. So they were classed as technically home births. And it was the most incredibly beautiful and spiritual experience of my whole entire life, birthing children in this world, to the extent where I would do 10,000. My favorite days of my whole entire life. I felt so connected with my body, so empowered, so powerful, although I knew nothing about it, although I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, although there were stories out there that were completely the opposite than what I was experiencing, and the giant unknown. But I want to let you know this. You can hold the unknown and birth an experience that will change your whole entire life. You can hold the unknown and do something that is so contrary to the world's expectations and the world's average and the world's stories at large. That is how powerful you are. So with that being the context of I would have 10,000 babies, my labors were short, I had no tearing with both of my children, despite them being big babies. I was birthed at a birthing unit. I had no access to an epidural, or even if I needed one in a moment, obviously I could be transferred to a hospital if there was an emergency. Obviously, I did have medical professionals with me. I didn't need pain medication at large. And after my first birth, a few hours later, I had a shower and I was in the kind of nursing room. And my husband said to me, would you ever have another? And I said, give me a couple of months, but yeah, I'll do it again. After my first baby, I was like, I'd be ready. I honestly, with all honesty, would be ready to give birth to another baby in a couple of months' time. And I now see why my mother had 5 children in 7 years, love. And I have to give credit to my mother and my father and the stories that my mother shared with me. It was a large proportion as to why my human was able to hold the unknown and also precipitate what she really wanted in a birthing experience. Because the stories we are told do dramatically impact our relationship with this 3D matrix. And that is one of my major reasons for recording this, is because it has come to my attention that I have not shared this, and there are so many women who are birthing children every single day with the fear of fucking God of how horrible it's going to be. And it simply is not the only truth or the only option available to you. Now, here in New Zealand, for those of you who are New Zealanders or know a New Zealand, we are kind of like the good old just get it fucking done type. Like, we have this saying here called Kiwi ingenuity. We just figure shit out. We are like we're at the bottom of the world, right? But we are like the kings and queens of DIY. The kings and queens of figuring shit out. The kings and queens of inventing things. The kings and queens of having a modern world, but also having like the beautiful roughness, toughness, get shit done kind of in our own authentic, beautiful way and like a natural way. Like, that's how I would describe this Kiwi ingenuity. So when my mother told me stories of her labours being an hour long, or like her longest, I think it was like 5 hours or something, I believed it. My undivine hair center was like, okay, bitch, this is how it goes. And then my two-line, who's like just naturally gifted at things, like, and I'll share some more things in the future, or maybe in this episode around like my natural codex. They'll probably come out in this episode, but I'll share some things that naturally came through in my natural codex of my two-line and my gifts that I wasn't even aware of at the time, guys. This is the thing. I was literally I didn't even know this stuff. I allowed the stories and the context in which the stories were delivered in, I allowed them to pierce my heart. I allowed them to impact my reality. I allowed them to impact my future and gravitate me, lean me towards, pull me towards the birthing experiences that I knew were available to me. In my heart of hearts, I felt a pull. And I knew that it could be different. I knew that I could have the most incredible experience. Now, my mother told me stories about her labours being very short and very easy, and like she like gave birth to one of them in an elevator, and like all this kind of stuff, and it was just like no big deal. She's a little Welsh woman who popped out these babies with no fucking problems, and it's like, and my dad was 6'7", so like the chances of her having big babies was pretty high, and all of us are very tall. So like despite her stature of being very short, despite the contrast, the duality of my father being fucking huge, a giant, she still held on to her own trust that her experience will be different. And that's the stories that I grew up on. I never heard stories of shitty birthing experiences. I simply did not. And when it came to the time where you go to, in New Zealand, you have these, I think it's prenatal classes that you go to, and they tell you about birth, etc. And they tell you about complications, tell you about all this stuff. When it came to that time, I recognized that it was bringing so much fear up within my body. And I also recognized that there are a million different things that can happen in labor. I also recognized that, I could just do things to set myself up for success, have the people around me that felt really great to my now knowing spleen. It was my intuition. At the time, knew nothing about my spleen, knew nothing about human design, but I really followed my heart and followed what made sense, the bridge between what makes sense and the bridge between what I felt could be true and is true. And I stepped away from the horror stories. So my absolute top recommendation would be to engross yourself in spaces, in places, in books, in knowledge, in stories that empower you as a woman, that empower you as a person who is about to go through birth, that empower you as a person who's about to have the most epic fucking labor ever. There's 2 books that were recommended to me and really changed my life. One of them I read, the other one I felt the frequency of. The first one I read is called Supernatural Birth by Jackie Mees, I think. I will leave a link down below. And this is filtered through the lens of Christianity because that's where I was at the time. Beautiful book. Amazing. The other one that was recommended to me that I just felt the frequency of but I did not actually read was Orgasmic Birth. Once again, I'll leave the link down below. And then I listened to like the odd podcast and some YouTube videos, etc. And I wasn't really into hypnosis, but I took the frequency from the ability of that and applied it to the realm that I was creating. The second part is there were a few frequencies / words that I really gravitated towards back then. If I was to have more children, it would be still the same, as well as like my collective knowledge of and experience of already having 2 babies that I want to share with you. But just, I would recommend, like, when you find something that like really deeply hits your soul, like, remember it, write it down, write on your mirror, like really bring it to the forefront, put it on your screenshot, what's it called, the screensaver of your phone, you know. So there was a few sayings that I came across in different resources that really impacted me hugely. And the first one was that women have been birthing babies for thousands of years, like in creeks by themselves. And I know for some people that might not be empowering, but for me it was. For me it felt like, oh my God, I don't need a medical system. Oh my God, I don't need all this faff. Oh my God, they have just been doing this like it was just a fucking Tuesday, you know? Like, and the taking away of the big drama and the fear and the bigness of it made it feel natural to me. And to me, the things that feel really natural are typically really empowering for me. So that's the reason why it really fucking empowered me. And the second thing is, one of my midwives told me, I think it must have been my first midwife. She said to me that, you know, if you passed out when you were giving birth, like laying on a bed, your body would birth the baby without your help. And I was like, wait, what? What, bitch? And obviously there's always going to be exceptions to this rule, but in general sense, like, your body knows what it's doing. You have no idea when you're going into labor. You have no idea what you are doing. You just, like, if you were to surrender the experience, which I did do, you are breathing through shit and then suddenly you feel like pushing. You know, my midwife never even checked that I was 10 centimeters because they just knew from my vocal that I was at the, what's it called, with a transition stage, there we go, and you start pushing. My body you just naturally know what to fucking do. I shit you not. I fucking shit you not. The final piece that I want to bring to you that will completely support your endeavor for having the most beautiful birthing experience is being in water, being around water, being in the shower, but ideally being immersed in water. We know that water is the Codex of God. By the way, there is this woman, her name is Veda Austin. She is a New Zealander and she shares about the intelligence of water. Oh, I cannot once again, I will link this resource down below as an interview with her. That changed my whole entire life. I didn't see this until a few years ago, so it wasn't in my human brain when I was giving birth, but it was obviously part of my Codex and was always going to find me, and time is really not a thing. So I knew the information before I knew the information, but anyhow, and you know the information before you even know the information. But being in water does so many things for your body, obviously because of the frequencies, but also water makes you supple. Water takes away a lot of pain. Water makes you buoyant. Water makes it easier to move around. Water makes it easier to control your body temperature, whether you're too hot or too cold. There are so many benefits to being in water in labor. If you want a beautiful birthing experience like I did, these are my top few things. I could quite literally talk for days on this, love. So if you would like some more, if you have some more prompts, you are more than welcome to invite me in my inbox. You can message me at your Galactic Guide, that's for the podcast, or at Angharad Sage for my normal other account. If you know somebody who is about to give birth and you think this would be a really beautiful and supportive resource for them, please share it with them. If you have listened and it has impacted you, please share it to your stories and tag me at your Galactic Guide or at Angharad Sage on Instagram. And thank you for tuning in. I have more beautiful things coming, that this one had to slip in first. We have another beautiful episode coming up that I will be sharing very soon, but this one wants to come in right now as per Spinning Urge. I send you lots of love and I'll speak soon.